this afternoon. Uh, we are here today for a motivational talk and book signing session. And before we jump into that, I would firstly like to ask Dr. Desmond Phillips from NHM Professionals to open with prayer so that we begin the right way.
Mighty Yahweh, we thank you in a very special way this evening for your love and for your mercies towards us. Indeed, you are our Heavenly Father, and healing is the children's bread. We thank you for healing, the miracle of life, that our bodies can continue to heal itself. This is the way that you have made us. And this evening we thank you for the knowledge that you have given us so that we can hear from the experienced ones, those who have gone the way before and who have experienced, dear Lord, your goodness. We thank you for the young boys and girls in the midst. We thank you for the adults. And we thank you for your Holy Spirit, your presence with us. Come and tabernacle with us, Father. Because in all that we do and all that we say, we want to be pleasing in your sight. We ask that you will be with the proceedings, and we give you all the praise, all the honor and the glory for honoring us with your presence. In Yahshua's name, so be it. Amen.
So, greetings again, brothers and sisters. My name is Onika Nkrumah Lakan. I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but just take it in syllables, you'll be fine. I am the president and founder of Speak Out Sisters TNT. And Speak Out Sisters TNT is a humble women's group. We are based in San Fernando. We are involved in various community and social issues. Since we began back in April of 2015, we have been hosting an annual Emancipation Gala in the city of San Fernando. This is also in recognition of the United Nations declared decade for people of African descent. So this year, we will host our 4th annual Emancipation Gala on Saturday, the 21st of July at the Creative Arts Center on Circular Road from 7 p.m. sharp. And I hope to see you all there as well, because we have an excellent program of both education and entertainment in honor of our ancestors. So this evening, we are here for a motivational talk and book signing, and this is what we hope will be the first in a series. We are happy to provide this space where, as women, we can share our stories, and even as men, because we don't discriminate. So from time to time, we'll be happy to hear from our Speak Out brothers. But this is a space for us to share our stories and our experiences, because I really believe passionately that as women, we need to share our stories. And I'll tell you exactly why a little later. So before I go any further, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Springfield Polaya. Mr. Springfield Polaya in the blue shirt walking past there, as well as Mrs. Hazel Samuda and the rest of the library staff here who have graciously provided us this space and who have done everything to make the event possible and a success, okay? So we are going to hear today from the author, Mrs. Anne-Marie Fraser. She's a cancer survivor. She's also a first-time author and now apparently a best-selling author on Amazon Kindle. She wrote the book Common Sense Cancer to share with people her experiences with breast cancer and the methods that she used to survive, okay? However, before we hear from her, I would like to welcome a colleague of mine. She's also a member of Speak Out Sisters, and she's the director of NHM Professionals. She will tell you more about that. And she's also a teacher at the Joshua Generation Home Study Circle. Her name is Dr. Angina Phillips, and I would like to welcome her to the stage at this point to bring greetings.
Thank you so very much, Sister Unika Lakan. And it is indeed a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon to all of us. I am seeing a lot of familiar faces, and I'm seeing some new faces who I believe are friends and supporters, and we are very, very happy to have you here this afternoon. As Sister Unika said, I am also a director of Speak Out Sisters. I am also a director of NHM Professional Associates. My husband, Dr. Desmond Phillips, is the naturopathic physician of Naturopaths Phillips and NHM Professional Associates. And we have been in the business of natural health for approximately 20 years. So we are very happy when we are able to share these experiences, Sister Fraser. You know, as I came in there and I saw Sister Fraser's beautiful smile, I gave thanks unto God, because indeed, when we have an overcoming experience, we can smile like that. We really have joy. So we bless the name of the Lord indeed. And when I saw the name of the book, Common Sense Cancer, I thought about it twice, because I said to myself, well, cancer really doesn't have common sense. But really, cancer cells live and move by instinct. But the word says, Sister Fraser, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And it is God himself who has given us common sense. And I know that for you to overcome cancer using that common sense, it means that you tapped into his power. And he helped you, and he guided you, and he directed you. And that is really what we are about as Naturopaths Phillips. Our work, our ministry, our mission is to help people to come back to God's plan in terms of life, in terms of health, in terms of everything that we experience. Because many times we look to the world for answers, but we don't get the answers we seek. So we really have to go back to the common sense that God has given to us. Really, it is a tremendous blessing. When we look at the experience, for example, of Sister Anne-Marie Fraser, we know for sure that all is not lost. And sometimes when we hear the word cancer, we call it the big C. And we call it the big C because everyone thinks that when it's cancer, that's it. That's the end. But as Sister Anne-Marie would probably testify, that's sometimes the beginning of a new life and a new phase of life. Because many times it is only when we have those experiences that we really make tremendous changes and there's a turnaround in our lives. And sometimes, as the word said, our experience becomes that where we are able to see that the latter part is better than the first. So I believe this may be very well true of Sister Anne-Marie Fraser, and I call her sister in faith indeed. And the fact that the book Common Sense Cancer was produced is evidence that indeed a great transformation has taken place. And with that transformation, she has now become a minister, in that through her book and through her experience, she is now ministering to the lives of many, many thousands of people. And we pray that that number will continue to grow, because as she experienced it, there are multitudes who will be blessed by her testimony, and they too will be able to experience it. So we give thanks and we give all our support with love to Sister Anne-Marie Fraser.
Thank you so much, Dr. Phillips. And I forgot to mention before, I must thank Sister Anne-Marie Fraser for the amazing opportunity that she gave to me to be a part of this process. Because when you get your book, you would see on the inside credits, Unika in Kumalakan, i.e. myself. So I am the editor of this book, and I thank her for the amazing opportunity. Because I do have a background in media and cultural studies. So I've written for several magazines, websites. Up till recently, I was a frequent contributor to the WOW magazine, the Guardian WOW magazine. So I have a background in writing, but this is the first time I've ever had the chance to edit a book. So I really appreciate that. So thanks again, Mrs. Fraser. Before we get to the meat and potatoes of this evening program, I would just like to invite a sister of mine. She's a spoken word poet, and her name is Emrite Samlak. She's a member of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and she goes by the performance name Empress Light. So I hope you'll be blessed by her offering this evening. Empress Light.
Good evening to all. You know, I just want to say something. I was thinking about this gathering while I was coming here. And the exact thoughts that I got, the sister came and she said it, is not the end, is the beginning of a whole new life. You can take this so-called predicament or negative thing and turn it into something positive, where you can inspire others and teach them so that they can learn from you. And that's the purpose of a lot of our experiences, to teach others. Anyway, nevertheless, my short but sweet piece is entitled Hardships. I wrote this years ago. Our hardships are our tests. Do we get caught up hyperly? Do we forget? Do we lose our grip on morality, reality with whatever it takes? Do we sit to consider what is the purpose under the sun for which this time was ordained? For to everything there's a season and a time to every purpose. Do we check ourselves, recap our lives, to even overstand if this be punishment? Do we think about searching out the action performed that has brought about this? Hardships test our integrity, strength, survival, ambition, and spirituality. Yes, hardships come for many different reasons. So, will you crack up and break into pieces? Or will you remember diamonds are created under pressure? Blessed love.
Thank you so much, Empress Light, for that very relevant piece. So I said to you that I believe passionately that as women and as men, we should share our stories with one another, okay? The idea is that we can learn something from each other, and we can even save a life. So I have an anecdote to share with you. Some years ago, a friend of mine, well, I use the word friend loosely, and her sister was raped. Her sister was raped, and she shared that story with me. Now, I always remember being very impressed that she would share such sensitive, subject matter with me, because like I said, we were friends, but, loosely speaking, friend enemy, as you might say in Trinidad and Tobago. So I remember being very, amazed that she shared something so confidential with me, because, this is Trinidad, and sometimes you don't know, people have behaving ridiculous sometimes, and you might tell somebody something in confidence, and they're going to spread your business all over the place. But this is how the Lord works in mysterious ways. So she shared her sister's experience with me. She was raped by 4 men taking a taxi ride there in Duncan Village. Sadly to say, she never got justice. And I don't know if some of you all remember, this was some years ago when there were a series of rapes taking place in San Fernando, around the Lord Street area, cars, would pick up passengers and then, So there was a series of rapes happening in the San Fernando area. So not too long after, my friend shared this experience with me. I was still living at my mother's house at the time, and I was walking out to take a taxi to go down the road. And I was walking out of Leoto Street. And for those of you that know Leoto Street, that's the street that the birth paper office is on. And when I got to the top of the road, a car blew its horn and stopped for me. This was a kind of gold color, either B15, one of those vehicles that those bandits love a lot, either a B15 or a B12 or some one of those kind. And it was a gold colored. Same she had mentioned as well, the vehicle her sister got into was also a gold colored Sentra or B12, whatever it was. At the time, I didn't think anything of it, right? PS drivers normally, they blow the horn, they slow down. But in hindsight now, I realize this vehicle came to a complete stop. They would usually honk their horn, slow down, whatever. Anyway, I didn't think anything of it. Cross the road, got into the car. When I got into the car, I immediately did a quick surveillance. 4 men were in the car, the driver, the shotgun rider, and the 2 riding back up behind. So I sat down, I looked to my left, looked to my right, sorry. I was at the end. So the 2 gentlemen at the side of me, I noticed they had knapsacks on their lap, okay? So my immediate first thought was that they're looking okay, man. They're looking like they're either going to or coming from work. And brothers and sisters, in the very next instant that that thought left my mind, my entire body ran cold. All the hair on my arms, the back of my neck stood up, and a feeling that I've never felt before nor since overcame me. And I heard a voice in my head, loud as day, which is the Holy Spirit, as far as I'm concerned. And the voice said, "Get out." Just like that. Loud just like that, like somebody in my ear at the side of me. I don't know if some of you all might do that movie. Get out. And as the voice said, "Get out," I did not second guess it. I did not wonder if I was being foolish, if I would look foolish. I immediately shouted out, "Oh God, I forget. Stop. I have to go in the drugstore." Because at that time, Dukaran's drugs was still at the corner of Sutton Street. So this is happening in very quickly, because you see where I jump into the car, which was at the top of Leoto Street, and you see the distance where Sutton Street is. So this is happening in seconds, but feeling like forever. So immediately I said, "Oh God, stop. I forget, I have to go into the drugstore." That was the allegation I pulled. And brothers and sisters, when I said that, all men in that car turned to look at me. The 2 at the side, the shotgun rider, and the driver take his eyes off the road, spin around and look at me. And when the 2 at the front spin around and looked at me, the Lord opened my third eye, and I saw it clearly. And you all ever see those horror movies where, like shapeshifters, their face actually shift out of position, and I saw the evil, right? The Lord allowed me to see the evil. And had I hesitated, I fervently believe I would have become a victim of either a rape, robbery, both, because I don't know how much they would expect to get from a young girl at that time in a taxi, so either a rape, a robbery, or both, or even worse. So as I said that, they did pull aside, because when you act, when the Lord speaks, he binds that you give him the opportunity to work because you're obedient. And he bound those people in that car. And so they did pull aside. And when they pull aside, and I now scrambling for the lock, the car door. And I guess the central locking is on, so it didn't immediately open, and my heart is pounding fast. And when it did open, and I couldn't follow the car fast enough. And you know what that front seat passenger leaned his head out the car to say to me, he said, family, you're lucky. You escaped today. And they drove off laughing. And brothers and sisters, my legs were so wobbly. I hung up a lamppost, you know. I couldn't move. I hung up a lamppost before to regain my composure, right? And I stood there for a while before I could stop another taxi to continue my journey. And I deliberately looked for the oldest, most bragadon car and an old man driving it, who I think looking little like he gonna be harmless, or I could wrestle him if worse come to worse. But that haunts me to this day because clearly they were out looking for a victim. This is how these devils operate, right? They're out there prowling, looking for a victim. And God be with you if you come across their orbit. And I always think about maybe who else they pick up further up the road? Who else girl child they pick up further up the road? You know? And I feel certain that I was saved not just in my own right, but because I come from a line of believing women and ancestors that did the right thing, right? I feel strongly that it was the prayer of my mother and my grandmother and women like that that kept me, because the Lord says, the Bible says that the seed of the righteous will not be forgotten. And so this is why I believe very passionately that as women, as human beings, we need to share our stories, because you don't know who you could save. Because had that sister that I mentioned not shared that story with me, spiritually I would not have been alert. And I might have sat there and you'll just strip it there, oh God, you're waiting, you wait long for a taxi where you're coming out for, you're down in the car, and I would have second guessed myself, and all window of opportunity for the Lord to act would have been lost, right? So glad to be able to share my own Me Too moment, or life in leggings, or whichever hashtag is trending right now with you. And so this is why I'm so pleased to host this forum. And the first in our series, once again, Mrs. Anne-Marie Fraser, who is also going to be sharing her story in the hopes that it could save somebody. So at this time, I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome to the podium Miss Anne-Marie Fraser, author of the book, Common Sense Cancer.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think we can do better than that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful, wonderful. I do want to say thanks to the administration here for the library for allowing us to be here today. I want to thank our videographer who is here. I didn't get his name, but thank you so very much. And Bishop Philip, thank you for that opening prayer. Thank you so much. I was moved and touched. I want to also thank my good friend, Mr. Thomas, in the back, that drove me and got me here on time to talk to you today. Thank you, Dr. Philip in the back. Thank you very much for your kind words. And I want to say a special thank to Onika. Onika is a special young lady. I'm sure you realize that just by listening to her story. Onika helped me out so much with this book. This book, Common Sense Cancer, went through about 12 drafts. This book went through about 12 drafts. By the time it got into Onika's hand, she turned it upside down. I could not believe it. My husband and I were looking at all the red marks. She crossed up so many things. I said, oh my goodness, this girl is good. I called the person who introduced me to her, and I said, you gave me a really good person. There's a lot of love that went into the work and into the final piece. Now, so thank you so much, Onika. You did a great job, and it was my pleasure to make sure to put your name in that book. You know why? We should support each other that way. We should help each other out that way.
and you did a wonderful job. I would have done it anyhow. I would have given you that opportunity. Now, I know that the time is short, so I'm going to go straight to the screen. I want to share a few things with you, and along the way, I'll tell my story. Have concerning your health should be addressed to your own physician. This is something that we must say in any open meeting. In other words, I'm not a doctor, so I cannot give you medical advice. I can share my own personal testimony. Is that okay with everybody? But we do want to say that if you have serious health issues and so on, you should be speaking to your personal physician. All right. Onika, advance to me, please. Thank you. So we are talking about breast cancer. That was the type of cancer that I was affected with. And as you know, as most of you know, cancer it's like a plague. It's just affecting so many people. Most of us in the room today either know someone who has been, who passed away from cancer or who is going through it right now. Is that true? Yes? And so in the United States of America, more than 200,000 women every year is affected or diagnosed with breast cancer. And that's 1 in 8. I mean, if you look around the room, that's 1 in 8. Every 8 person, you would find that someone is diagnosed with breast cancer. In the Caribbean, I did not find statistics particular to Trinidad and Tobago, but in the Caribbean, the number 1 cancer in women is breast cancer. The number 1 cancer killer of women in the Caribbean is breast cancer. So this is something that, to me, worth having a discussion about. So when it comes to breast cancer, it can occur in men as well. Not a whole lot, because men also has breast tissue, just as women, but women has more breast tissue than men, right? So men would come down with breast cancer as well. You still have to be concerned. 1 in 1,000. Not a whole lot, but still want to be concerned. Breast cancer can spread to 5 different sites in the body. So usually the cancer in the breast would be what they call the primary cancer. It starts there. But if you don't do the things that you should do, and if you're not careful, then the cancer would spread to other areas in the body. And I'll show you the 5 places that breast cancer spreads to in just a little bit. There are 4 stages. The doctors would stage you from 0 to 4. If you're in the first stage of breast cancer, you have a very, very good chance of survival. Once the cancer goes out to other organs and other tissues and other areas of the body, like let's say your brain, or it gets into the blood or your liver, then you're really fighting an upward battle at that stage, okay? Symptoms. Very important to pay attention to your own bodies. Every female in this room, and men as well, you should pay attention to your body. You should know what your body looks and feel like. I was not doing that. So I was the one that discovered the lump in my breast. It was a Thursday, Thanksgiving. My family and I were getting ready to visit family for Thanksgiving. And everyone was about to walk out the door. They were just waiting on me. I walked in to pick up my pocketbook, and as I picked up my pocketbook, I felt a sharp pain in the breast. And it was so sharp that I screamed out. And when I put my hand in the area of the breast, I felt my own lump. I wasn't checking before. And this is why I encourage women to pay attention to your bodies and check for lumps all the time. You must do that. So the number 1 symptom, a painless lump in the breast. Sometimes you don't feel a pain, but the lump is there. Because you did not feel that pain, you're not paying attention to what's going on in your body, right? And then there are times that you will feel the pain, as I did. Changes in the breast size and changes in the shape of the breast can give you an idea that something is happening or something is going on. Swelling under your armpits. Those are under your arm, it's where your lymph nodes are. And so If you feel any kind of swelling, any kind of pain under your armpits, you want to not ignore that. You want to pay attention to it. And also, changes in your nipples. Your nipple is supposed to be not turned inverted, not turned inside out. So if you see that's happening, and especially men also, you want to make sure that you go and see your physician right away. Don't play with yourself. Why am I saying this? Well, early detection. When you discover something early, you have a chance to fight it, and you have a chance to take steps to survive, yes? But when you leave it and you allow it to grow, and you allow things to get out of control, then you're fighting an upward battle. Next slide, please. Now I want to show you some, we have children here, and I did not think that we would have kids, but, so please excuse me, but these are members from a particular church, some of our churches, that actually had breast cancer, and with their permission, I can show you what the cancer looks like. Okay, so when you look at this photo right here, you can see this breast is a normal breast, but you can see here that this breast here, the right breast, has the cancer in it. The lump grows, the breast becomes very heavy, and you can tell that something is going on in this breast, right? And then you would see that if you squeeze the nipple, you'll get a discharge that's coming out anytime. Unless you are young and you just had a baby and you're nursing the child and so on, you should not be seeing any fluid or any liquid coming out from the nipples. Next slide, please. All right, here's another slide that shows you the cancer. One of the doctors that I train with, he's a herbal doctor, and he does something called herbal surgery. So he don't use a knife or anything to cut you, but he uses certain herbs, right? There are 5 of them, red root, poke root, and some other things, and he mixes them together, and he places just a little bit of it on the breast where the tumor is, where you may feel a lump, just about a little bit, about the size of a dime. And what that does, it burns a hole in the skin about the size of a dime, and then those herbs, which are called drawing herbs, they are used to draw inflammation and draw stuff out of the body, toxins and so on. It pulls the cancer outside of the breast, and then he uses the drying herbs to dry it up and then pluck the cancer off. I've seen him done that surgery several times. So this was just one of the people that he was working with to help to pull the cancer out. Next slide, please. I just want to say, this is one of my favorite books that I read, and the book is called The Great Controversy, but I want to mention this because I want to show you another slide. Good afternoon. It's talking about the eating of flesh and meat. If you are a meat eater and you are diagnosed with cancer, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to have to try to make that strong decision. I know it's not easy to let go of the flesh. This author says in her book, flesh was never the best food. I mean, we're not in church, but in the beginning of time, if you read in the book of Genesis in the Bible, God gave an original diet that was designed for the human body, and God created us, so we know He knows best, right? And it was a diet of nuts and grains and fruits and vegetables and those sorts of things. It wasn't animal. People started eating flesh and meat after the flood, if you read in the Bible. So even though we may eat it, it's not really the best food. That's what the author is saying, right? And she went on to say that those who use flesh foods little know what they are eating. Often, if they could see the animals when living and know the quality of the meat they are eating, they would turn from it with loathing. In other words, they would hate what they are seeing. These days, years ago, I said this, I was on a TV show yesterday. And I remembered when I was a little girl growing up in Trinidad, my grandmother and myself, we used to go to the market because we had a shop. And the way they used to deal with the animals before you buy the beef or before you buy a piece of meat, they actually used to hang the animal up and have the animal hang down and drain the blood before they actually cut the meat up and sell it in the market. They're not doing this anymore. They're actually injecting these animals, and the way that they take them to the slaughter in order to kill the cows, they are all full of anger because they know they're going to be killed, and they're screaming, and all of that anger and evil and all of the cancerous tumors and all these things, it's in the blood of the animal. And then when we eat it and it gets into our system, we begin to develop health issues. So one of the things I want to encourage us to do is to, if you know that you're diabetic, if you know that you have high blood pressure, you have kidney failure, you have cancer, you're suffering with lifestyle diseases, you want to get off the animal products. Not just the meat, but the milk and the cheese and those sorts of things. And I know right now some of you are saying, what? Because you love your macaroni and cheese pie and all of that so much, right? I loved it too. I'm just saying that. People are continually eating flesh that is filled with tuberculosis and cancerous germs. Tuberculosis, cancer, and other fatal diseases are thus communicated. It's passed on to us. Now, this breast that is full of cancer that Dr. Mayman Wilson was able to pull out of the person was a person who was a meat eater. You can see how horrible that cancer is. See, a lot of times we can't see inside the body, so we have no clue what's really happening, but it's not a good sign. So I do want to encourage us as we go further into the lecture today that you would give that some thought for your health, right? As women and as men, and especially men. Why? Men, you're taking care of the home. You're the financial breadwinner in the home. If anything happens to you, you're leaving your spouse and your children, you know, to suffer. And we find that our brothers are coming down with prostate cancer a lot. Am I speaking the truth here in Trinidad? Yes? Yeah. Prostate cancer is something that is so curable for men. If you catch it early, if they catch that prostate cancer early before it's spread to the little neighboring organs that is right around the prostate, your bladder and your spleen and so on, they can actually take that sac out, take that prostate out, and you can survive for many, many years. But once you allow that cancer to spread and get out, you're really in a lot of trouble, right? Now, one of the things with men, anytime you have a sexual experience with your wives, you lose a lot of zinc. Zinc is a mineral that your body is not going to make. You have to put it back into your system. So we're finding that a lot of older men are coming down with prostate cancer because when they were younger, they were having a lot of sex. And they were playing around and things like that. So they lost a lot of the zinc. Their body is not going to make it. They don't put it back in their system, and their prostate begin to malfunction. So you want to make sure that you're drinking your pomegranate juice and you put in zinc back into your body and take care of yourselves. Okay? Next slide, please. So, early detection. For the woman, you want to make sure that you're doing your mammograms. Can I see? It's very painful. Once a year, after you turn age 45, make sure that you go to your doctor make sure that you get tested, right? Every 2 years, if you're between the ages of 50 and 75, and then if you're over 75, you're a senior now, it will be the examination. I was not doing mammograms. I had that lump. I was not doing self breast examinations. And you must do this once a month. If I was doing this, I would have caught my cancer. Let me also tell you something about a cancerous tumor. It takes 8 years, about 8 years, for a tumor to develop in your system. A tumor don't just happen. You will go to the doctor this year, and they'll give you a good bill of health. They'll tell you everything is okay. And 6 months after, they're telling you you have cancer. It was there, but it takes a few years for that tumor to develop where a mammogram or an MRI or a sonogram or some kind of scan can pick it up. The tumor must be about the size of a rice grain. That's the only time that the scan will pick it up. If the tumor is smaller than a rice grain, you would have that cancer growing in your body and you don't know as yet. So it's always important for you to be doing the mammogram, doing the self-examination of your breast. And this you should do once a month. Do you know how to check the breast for lump? You can lie down. Yes, you can lay down and check, right? Or you can do it when you're having your shower. Or if you're changing your clothes and you're standing up in front of the mirror, you can do it as well. You want to use these 2 fingers, and you want to start from under your arm, if you would like, right? And just make some circular motions, and you go across the entire breast, and you're feeling, okay? You're feeling for those lumps until you go and you cover the whole breast. If you have a lot of breast, and you have a lot of fatty tissue and so on, you want to press into it a little harder, squeeze into it, because you're seeking to see whether you're feeling for lumps. And you should do that lying down. You put one hand behind your neck, and then you use the other hand to check. And you can do that in the mirror when nobody's looking at you. Pay attention to your body. Pay attention to what your body looks like. So I talked about the 4 stages already. The doctors would look to see how big your tumor is. These are the symptoms that they use to stage you. Staging is important because that determines your treatment plan. How aggressive you should fight to beat this disease. By the way, you should always be aggressive to fight cancer if you are diagnosed. And you should be even more aggressive if you are not diagnosed, not to be. You must pay so much attention to everything that you're doing from here on, okay? And how much of your body is affected. Monica. So these are the 5 various sites that breast cancer would go to. So if it leaves the breast, if the tumor, they are breast cells. A breast cell is different from a lung cell. It's different from the cell of your bones, right? And a bone cell should not be in the breast. But when the cell has gone bad and it becomes cancerous, it just goes everywhere. So you would find that the breast cell would travel through your lymphatic system or through your blood or through the tissues, and it would get into the lungs, into the nodes, in your brain. So you start off with a breast cancer, and then the doctor is telling you they see a spot in your brain. So they are seeing breast cells mixed with the brain cells, and they know that the cancer has gone to the brain. So these are the areas that if you are diagnosed with breast cancer, that you want to be doing everything possible to work on these areas of your body. All right, so we talked about that already. Go ahead. All right, so what I want to do now is to share my testimony with you, and as I go along, I will be talking to you about some of the methods that I use. First thing I want to mention is the Dr. Philip in the back, Dr. Mrs. Philip, mentioned, why did she call this book Common Sense? I mean, it doesn't even make sense, right? And I thought I would share with you how I came up with this name. It was given to me. It was given to me. I heard the Lord say to me as clear as day, Common Sense Cancer, because I was trying to figure out what to call this book long before the book was written. And I got up. I was sick at the time. I wasn't in the clear as yet. And I wrote it down. And for years, I had the name written down. And I went on the internet to a company called GoDaddy.com. And I bought this name more than 8, 9 years now. I bought the name so no one else would get this name. And I put it aside. And after paying for it for about 5 years, I didn't finish write the book. I started the book in 2009 and couldn't finish it. And I said, look, I keep on spending this money every year, paying GoDaddy for this name. It looked like I'm not going to finish write this book. So I let it go. I didn't want to pay for it anymore. And I let it go for a couple years. And then the Spirit of the Lord told me, now it's time to really finish this book, because I made a promise to do it, and I didn't keep my word. So now I called up GoDaddy and I said, man, I wonder if the name is still there. God gave me this name because I heard it. And when I called them, they did a scan and they said, nobody has the name. And I was able to get this name back. So I knew that this was what this book was going to be called, because I heard it directly from the Lord. It's about using your own God-given common sense. What is the one thing that everybody in this room has? Common sense. We have that. Some of us may have degrees from the top universities. Some of us may not have gone to the big schools and all of that. Some of us have a big-time job. Some of us are really humble and we're just a stay-home mom or whatever. But every one of us receive some gifts from God, and we have that common sense. That is exactly what Onika heard and used with that experience. That's such an amazing testimony. It's time for you to write your book also, because that is such an amazing testimony. And her own intuition, her own common sense, the Holy Spirit spoke to her, and that is what she used, and she acted at the right time, and that is why she's here today to share her testimony with us. And each one of us have that common sense. Let me tell you, after I discovered the lump, I immediately went to the doctor. So I'm going to begin to share my testimony now. Got to the doctor, a woman surgeon, breast surgeon, and she said, look, let us do a biopsy. Let's check to see if this lump has any cancer in it. So we did the biopsy. The results came back benign, no cancer. I was there jumping for joy, and I talk about this in the book as well, in chapter 1. I was jumping for joy because it came back no cancer. But guess what? The pain was there. The pain was excruciating. The pain is something like unbelievable. Well, if there is no cancer, why am I getting this pain, right? There's the common sense there. My mind is saying to me, something is not right. So I went back to the doctor, okay? And after I went back to the doctor, she said, look, okay, let's do a lumpectomy. And what's that? That's where they take the tumor out completely. And they would send it to the lab, have it checked, and then they would know whether the cancer is in there. So I did that. And it came back again, no cancer. Again, I was overjoyed. And I talked about my feelings. You're going to read all about it. And then let me tell you, about 2 weeks after the surgery, they took the lump out, you know, sent it to the lab, called me, let me know, Mrs. Fraser, everything is good. You know, there's nothing for you to worry about. And then one day I touched the spot, and when I did like that, the cancer, the tissues that where the lump was, it just filled it right back. And there I felt the lump again. So in my book, you see there's a chapter I call Off to the Doctor with a Vengeance. I went back to that doctor. I said, something is not right here. So, you know, she felt it, and she said, nothing to worry about. African American women suffer with fibrocystic breasts. We have a lot of lumps. There's nothing to worry about. That's just scar tissue from the surgery. She said it's going to melt, it's going to soften up, and it's going to go away. And guess what? After about 4 months, going into 5 months, I am feeling this thing. It's not going away. It's paining me off and on. And then it began to feel hard. So here is a tip about cancer. When your tumor or your lump feels soft, you want to really deal with it, because it may just be flesh, you know. A large percentage of lumps in the breast are non-cancerous. So you don't want to get scared because you feel a lump, but you do want to check it out. But when it begins to feel hard, you're in trouble. Cancer feels hard. It feels hard. And also, let me tell you how it pains. It's a very horrible pain. It feels like a bee sting you. And it's like the bee sting you real bad. And you would scream out, but it doesn't end. You feel the pain, you scream out, and then the pain moves. It moves under your flesh. And it burns as it moves. And then it disappears until it comes back again. That's how it was feeling all the time. So I knew I was in trouble at that point. I had to get a second opinion. So I say this as another tip for you. When the doctor is telling you one thing, you want to work with your doctor. You want to believe what they are telling you. They are professionals. They went to school. They spend the time to learn this. I'm not against medical doctors at all, even though I believe in natural remedies as well. But if the doctor is saying one thing to you, but your mind, your own common sense, and your body is telling you something opposite, it is time for you to do what? Get a second opinion. And that's exactly what I did, and it was at that point that they actually dig deeper and found the cancer. The doctor was saying to me, Mrs. Fraser, I'm so sorry. You know, the news is not good, but you do have this cancer. And I was in the 3rd stage at that point. It had already jumped to the other breast, the left breast. It had already gone into the lymph nodes, was already under both my arms. At that point, my hands started to feel very heavy because the tumor was growing. And then I wasn't able to even lift up a pocketbook. I started losing weight. I went down to 110 pounds. And, well, you know, it was bad at that stage. So I had to do something at that point. And let's go to the next slide. And it was at that point that I actually had to make a decision whether I was going to do what the doctor said, whether I was going to do what the herbalist said, because I went and I made sure that I was seeing some medical missionaries, or whether I was going to just believe in prayer. There are some people that's what they do, right? So in the book, I talk about, let me just hold this book over here. I talk about a synergy. A synergy. A synergy is a combination of methods. And I describe it very well where you can understand what I'm saying. If I needed to push my car up a hill, that's an upward fight, right? Because you're trying to push a car up a hill, right? And you're the only person. It becomes very difficult to get that car to the top. Your goal is to get to the top, yes? Your goal is to beat cancer, yes? Okay. Now, if I get 2 people to help me in the back, 1 person on the side, 1 person on the side, and all of us pushing, isn't the job a little easier? So that is what I decided. Let's use a synergy. Instead of just going with what the doctor said. In fact, I would have been dead if I did exactly what the doctor said. I know it. I know it within my heart, and I'm going to tell you why. Or instead of just doing what the herbalist told me, because the herbalists that I was working with, the medical missionaries, they did not believe in medical doctors. They did not believe in drugs. They did not want me to use chemo, radiation. Simply because, I shouldn't say they didn't believe in doctors, because some of them do have doctors in their family. What they were afraid of was the drugs and how harsh it is and what it could have done to my body. That's what the fear was. Wasn't the person or the doctor themselves. And then there were people that would say, listen, let's just go into prayer and let's just pray about it. I believe that God can heal. I believe when you want something and you ask God for it and you have that faith and belief, He will grant you that wish, as He did with me. But I certainly believe that it is best if you use a combination of various methods in order to accomplish your goal. And that's what the synergy is all about. All right, so the medical doctor wanted me to do 3 types of chemotherapies. And I would take a dose of chemo 1 week, 2nd week, 3rd week, and then in the 4th week, they will allow my body to rest. Then the next month, we come back again. Chemo, 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 rest. For 6 months. So that was the treatment plan. After which, they would do the surgery, and they would remove both breasts fully, double mastectomy. After which, they would do the radiation. That was the treatment plan. I found that that was very harsh. And so I tried to have a conversation with this oncologist. I said, sir, what about natural herbs? What about trying, wait. He stopped me. He said, you have the rarest form of breast cancer. There is no cure. You're very lucky if you make it out. Because my breast cancer was not triggered by what most breast cancer is triggered by. So let's talk about triggers for a second. Most breast cancer are triggered by the hormone called estrogen. And we know what estrogen is, those of us who are women, right? So if your breast cancer is triggered by estrogen, you have a very good chance of being a survivor and fighting this, because they can give you the drugs to suppress the hormone. Some breast cancers are triggered by progesterone. That's the male hormone. And then the one that I have is called the HER2 protein, HER2 plus, HER, the number 2 plus. So for women, you can Google it and research it. It's very rare. And the cancer is, there's a protein in the body, and it's freezing the cells. It's causing the cells to fuse together, and it's very difficult to survive. So he said to me, if you do not do exactly what I'm telling you, I would give you 6 months and you would be gone from here. He said, you're going to lie down on your bed one day, you're going to try to get up the next day, and you're going to find that you're not going to be able to move. And he said, I give you 6 months. Very cold. So I walked out of there, and I knew in my heart that I wasn't going back. I wasn't going to do those treatments because I just felt like I wasn't going to survive it. Let me say this to you. Most people die not from the cancer. It's from the treatment. The treatment is very harsh. If we can get a message out to our medical professions to just give you less drugs and more natural stuff, I believe that people would have a really good chance of survival. And that is what happened with me. Someone connected me with an old white lady. She was suffering with this cancer so bad, and she had huge tumors hanging from her neck. Her name was Janet Polly. She lived for many years after, but she's deceased now. And she went to Mexico, and the doctors there treated her differently, and she hooked me up with them. And so I made the decision to travel to the country of Mexico and use the same doctors that she used. And this is how they dealt with it. Did I do drugs? Did I use the drugs? Yes. Did I use chemo? Yes. Did I use radiation? Yes. But how did I use it? It's called low dose. So they gave me like 10 units of chemotherapy as opposed to the 80 units that I was supposed to get in the US. 10 units. And then they gave me 80 or 90% natural chemo. It's made from apricots, from the apricot seed. And they put it right into my vein. So I went through my 6 months of treatment. My hair never fell out. I did not vomit. I was weak because my body just happened to be that way. Let me say this. Before they gave me the first shot of chemo, and we're going to wrap up soon because I do want to take some questions. Before they gave me the first shot of chemotherapy, they checked my white blood cells. They checked my blood. This is one of the secrets to fighting cancer, or any disease, by the way. Always keep your immune system high. Your white blood cells, that's your immune system, your T killer cells. Always keep it high. Normal should be between 5 and 10. So my white blood cells, before I even had any chemo, was 8.5, 8,500. Very strong woman, yes? But once they gave me 10 units of chemotherapy, within 2 days, it wiped me out. When they checked my blood again, my white blood cells went down from 8.5 to about 2.6. And I had no energy. I couldn't even cross the street without someone holding me. I went down to 110 pounds. So what I'm saying is, if 10 units wiped me out, what do you think if I had stayed in the United States and do 80 units once a week for 6 months? I was not going to be standing here. So I believe in low-dose chemotherapy. Yes, the drug is important if you are in the third and the last stages of cancer. If you're in the first stage and you have time to deal with it, you may go 100% natural. But when it's already spreading and going through your body, you've got to fight it aggressively. It's like if this place is on fire, you're not going to come here with a little bucket of water, right? You're going to come with a whole hose of water because you want to put that fire out. And so the treatment plan that you decide to use should really be based on how aggressive you're going to fight this cancer. And so I chose to use the low dose, small amounts of chemotherapy, small amounts of radiation, and huge amounts of natural chemotherapy. Do you know that you have natural chemo? We have natural chemo right here in Trinidad. Yeah. Have you heard of soursop? Huh? Do you know we can't even buy soursop in the United States now that these folks recognize what it is? It is so expensive. They take it and they put it in a pill. It's called graviola. And you can't even pay for it. And you have it right here. So you have a person who is sick, dying with cancer. They're giving them all this chemotherapy, all this strong drug, right? It's wiping their immune system out. And then you have the natural chemotherapy right here. You can give that to the patient. But you also want to make sure that you're boosting up their immune system. That's what's going to cure cancer for you, when you boost up your immune cells. Okay? Now there are ways that you can do that. Let's go. Let's first talk about some of the things. I'm going to wrap up really quickly. Water. Water was a huge part of my survival. And I'll share with you why. Not just the ordinary water that you're buying, the bottled water. You want to get ionized alkaline water. Please. You can get the machine. If you want to know, in my book, I put the name of the company that makes it. You can always contact them, go on a payment plan, do whatever you have to do, get that machine, and get yourself that alkaline water. Not only for cancer, but for anything that you're going through. Because if you really find out what they're doing with this water, you won't even want to drink it. I have a website. It's called usealkalinewater.com. And I have 5 videos there that you could go and see, documented what's happening with the water, what it does to your tomato, what it does to your onions. Just go and check out the video. So when you are born and you are a fetus in your mother's womb, you are 99% water By the time you come out of the womb and the doctor slap your butt and you cry out as a baby, we are 99% water, okay? And then we are 90% water as we are born, and by the time you become an adult, you are 70 to 75% water. So God has created us that way. Most of our body is water. Take a look at this. Your brain is 75% water. Did you know that? Your blood is 83% water. Look at your lymphatic system, where the cancer flow goes and travels to other parts of the body. It's 94% water. Even your bones that are very hard and brittle is 22% water. So here's what common sense told me. If I can get my water right, then I can get 94% of my lymph system right. If you can just get the right amount of water in your body and the right kind of water, you can get 83% of your blood right. Nobody wants to have cancer in their blood. How are you going to heal it? If you pinch here, the blood is here. If you pinch here, the blood is here. Where are they going to radiate? This is why people with blood cancer don't usually survive. And bone cancer, it's a horrible, horrible form of thing when it gets to that stage. So if you get the water right, you're getting your body right. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Yes, next slide. Beautiful. Water is very important. Somebody tell me what I'm looking at. What are you looking at in this picture? Huh? Are the dishes clean? No, right? So you're looking at some dirty dishes, and what else? Somebody with 1 cup of water trying to wash all of these dishes. Can that happen? No. Impossible, right? But do you know that's exactly what we are doing? That's exactly what we are doing, because we put a lot of bad things in our system, right? We don't stool enough. We don't have enough bowel movement. We eat too much. We eat too often. We eat too much of a variety. Here is a tip for you. When you're putting food on your plate, try not to have more than 2 or 3 variety at a time. This is not how we eat. We put some rice, we put some peas, we put piece of chicken, we have some macaroni and cheese, we have some callaloo with hot pepper, and we barely have a little piece of broccoli or a little salad. So here's what we just did. Acid, 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 acid. And the broccoli, the only thing that is alkaline is the little bit of salad. It's not enough alkaline to neutralize all that acid. So here we have all this acid in our system, and guess how cancer developed and spread? In acidity. You have got to, so that's why I say water was a huge part of my survival, because I started drinking the proper kind of water, the big amount of water. I was flooding my body with it. I got myself back in balance and started to fight that cancer. So we want to get rid of all the toxins and the poisons in our body by drinking 1 cup of water a day. It's impossible. Trust me, I know what I'm telling you. It's impossible. Somebody tell me, how much water should you be drinking? 8 to 10, right? Well, here is it. Half of your body's weight in ounces. So if a person weighs 150 pounds, they would need less water than the person who weighs 200 pounds. From a child who only weighs 60 pounds, they're not going to need 8 glasses, right? So you will take their weight, divided by 2, and you will give them that amount of water in ounces, whether it's 64 ounces, 8 glasses, or if you want to give them 4 glasses. And next slide. And so water, surviving cancer. We're going to read this really quick. Read this with me. Number 1 says what? Increased thirst. Number 2, dry mouth, swollen tongue, weakness, dizziness, palpitation, confusion and fainting, inability to sweat. Next slide. Let's continue to read. Number 9, fatigue, energy depletion, depression, eczema, high and low blood pressure, cholesterol, gastric disorders, premature aging. If you know anybody suffering with those symptoms, you know what it is? Dehydration. If you just give them water, all of that will disappear. But what do? They go to the doctor. I have high blood pressure. Then the doctor give them some lisinopril or, losartan or some other kind of drug, right? All of that, dizziness, palpitations, my heart is, oh doc, I don't know what's wrong, my heart is just beating. Drink the alkaline water. Get your body back in balance. Get rid of the acid. A simple thing, I have it in my book, and I gave a lot of tips here for people who are not diagnosed with cancer in chapter 18. So the book is for everybody. A simple thing you can start by tomorrow morning. When you get up in the morning, first thing, you squeeze some yellow lemon in a glass of warm water, and you drink that. Every morning. You do that? Oh, beautiful. So what you're doing, you are already alkalizing your body. You're already neutralizing the acid. And you're starting to get your body back in balance so that those diseases that you are suffering with, eventually you won't even know that it's gone. You won't even know, instead of going and taking a pill that has side effects that's making the situation worse. Am I making common sense to everybody? Yes? All right, next slide. Okay, sorry, go back. We are almost done. I want to talk about the acid alkaline for a minute just to teach you something. So this is a pH chart. pH stands for potential of hydrogen, right? And it goes from 1 to what? 14. That's how you measure the pH or the acidity or the alkalinity. 7, between 1 and 14, midway is 7. 7 is neutral. It's neither acid or neither alkaline. So if you're dealing with taking medication, you want to use just regular neutral water. If you're dealing with mixing baby formulas and so on, you want to use just neutral water, right? pH of 7. If your pH is lower than 7, you are in an acid state. And you can tell, you can look at your urine. If your urine is really, really yellow, some people's urine is like almost orange. That tells you how acid diseases are developing in your body and you have no clue, right? Sometimes you see a person when they open their mouth, their tongue is not nice and pink. You know when you go to the doctor, they put something in your mouth and say ah, because they're looking down there. They're looking at your tongue. They're looking to see how healthy also that you're looking, that you're supposed to be. And when the tongue is white and furry and you have that white furry thing, you have to kind of scrape it off and try to get it off. That's just telling you how acidic your body is. So sickness on the acid side. You want to be a little bit on this side. The blood, the alkalinity of your blood is 7.35. You're not going to over-alkalize, because anytime your blood goes beyond that, you will die. So your body keeps you alive. God has made the body where the body can heal itself if you give it the right conditions. All right, let's move on, and I'm going to talk a little faster now so we can wrap up in a few minutes. This is called the Easy Act tea. This is one of the things that I use. Anybody ever heard of this tea? Yes, beautiful. You can just go read up on it, by the way, on Google if you want. But nurse case, this lady was a nurse in Canada, and she was working with a patient that had all these tumors. And I can't remember the whole story, but anyway, it was an old Indian doctor that they met on the side of the road that saw the cancerous tumors hanging from the person's neck. And this nurse case was with the person, and that Indian doctor said, listen, we cure that, and gave her the 4 bush and the recipe. This is called the cancer tea. And I'm sorry I didn't bring it to show it to you, but I have a picture of it, okay? And this tea, now it has 5 herbs. They have the original 4 plus cat's claw, which is the same as una de gado. So now it has 5 herbs in it. That's why they call it Easiac Plot. But the original was 4 herbs. This Indian doctor gave it to the lady. She went back to Canada. And when the doctors gave up on the patients, you know what a hospice is? Okay, the doctors say that's it for you, right? We give you a week, we give you 2 weeks, a month to live. They put you in hospice. She begged the doctors, can I work with these patients? And with their permission, she started giving them these 4 herbs that this Indian bush doctor gave her. Guess what? Cured them of cancer. This is why when they tried to throw her in jail, a lot of people signed petition and fought for her. She's dead now, but before she died, she passed on the recipe to Dr. McLean. His name is mentioned in my book. I called him, I spoke with him, he gave me the recipe. So for those of you who can't buy it, in the book, I gave you his company. I don't sell it, but his company's name and phone number and website is everything here that you can buy it. But if you can't afford to buy it, because it comes in a glass bottle, not plastic, not powder, he makes the tea and put it there and you can just drink it. You drink 1 ounce a day. It prevents the cancer from living in your body. It takes care of your blood. It's like a blood purifier. So 2 of the herbs that are in here, we have it here in Trinidad. Anyhow, you ever heard of the watercress? Okay, it's in here. You heard of sorrel? It's in here. Okay, the sheep sorrel, yes. Oh, you know about herbs. I forgot, yes. So this is a tea if you want to get it. I use that. I've been using it now for 8 years. You drink 1 ounce a day. Okay, next slide. Oh, by the way, this is it right here. So you guys can snap it with your phone if you want, or get in touch with me because I know you can't see that very well, and I'll give you the recipe so that if you feel you want to make it, because not everybody could go online and buy something, and I understand that. I'm not selling it. I'm just letting you know that's what helped me. These are the things that helped me, right? So if you can get that, it's 3 slides, one after the next. You got it? And that will tell you exactly how long you draw it for, how long you boil the bark for, how you mix it, and what you do, and then you bottle it, and then you refrigerate it. And it could last forever. All right, this is called cell food. A person who is sick, you might be diabetic or you're going through a lot of trouble and so on. You're not eating properly. Or you're so conscious of your sickness that you don't even know what to eat. Or you're eating, but you're not getting everything that the body needs. So if you want to get this is very inexpensive. It's like 20-something US dollars. You can buy this, it lasts you 6 months. The cell food has over 74 minerals. It has 34 enzymes. It has 17 amino acids. You see, that is what your body needs. Our bodies, Onika, our bodies don't know what is peas and rice or what is mac and cheese or what is fried chicken or barbecue chicken. Your body don't know what that is. Those foods must be broken down, right, by the body into vitamins and minerals and those things. The body uses enzymes to break your food down into the components that the body understands, and then it takes that, the blood carries it throughout the body to help give you energy and so on, right? So a lot of times you might be eating what you think is good, but you might be missing a mineral or you're missing a vitamin. You know, you're getting your vitamin C, but you're not getting your vitamin K, or you're missing this or you're missing that. So when you get a nice whole something that you put 1 drip in your juice or 1 drip in your water, it gives the body what it needs for the day. You can feel good about something like this. And so I have been on this. The doctors in Mexico put me on this, and I've been on it since. Next slide, please. All right, you can't see this, but I can describe it to you. In my book, I give you a lot of health tips that you should be following. One of them is exercise, okay? You cannot be healthy without exercising. And I do understand that some people are older and they are not able to go around the savannah and run and walk like they used to and things like that. But there are little things that you can do. So this is called a rebounder, or you might better know it as a trampoline, right? It's something that you could stand on and you can just bounce on it, right? Now, let's just say, I'm going to put the mic down for a minute. Let's just say that you can't even afford to buy a trampoline. You can hold on to something at your house and you can bounce, right? I'm going to demonstrate it for you. In fact, why doesn't everybody stand up? Because we're closing soon. Let me make you guys stand up for a minute, okay? All right. So if you do 200 of these, right? It's like if you're walking for 1 mile. Very simple. I want you to let your hands just fall, just loose, and I want you to bounce. Just bounce on the ball of your feet. And if you're older and you feel you're going to triple over, just hold on to the handle of your door, right? Hold on to the handle of your bathroom door, don't fall. Just bounce. And you're counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, counting, right? Now tap. Tap, tap. Come on, you can do it. Tap, tap. Yeah. Now tap. Tap. And do anything you want to do. Push. Push. You're exercising. Right? Right? Put your hands up. Wave. Bounce. Bounce. Right? Give yourself a round of applause. So, you have no excuse for not exercising every day. Some of you in this room, I know you called me because you saw me on TV yesterday, and I know that you're diabetic and everything, but you're going to have a problem with circulation. Your pancreas is not working right. So it's not releasing the enzyme, right, the insulin. Insulin is very important to your health. So if you just imagine your cell, it's like a circle, right? And your cell have an outer shell and an inner shell, and the glucose, which is the sugar, what we're eating, if you eat provision, let's say, or you eat a slice of bread, that converts into sugar, into glucose. But that is, when it gets into the cell, it gives you energy so you can walk. Energy so that your brain can work. Energy so you can smell and all of that. If you don't get that glucose into your cells, you're going to feel weak. A diabetic person usually feel weak. They don't have any energy to do anything. Why? There is no glucose getting into the cell to give you the energy. So the insulin is like a key. The insulin is the key that opens the door to allow the glucose to get into the cell. And this is why they're going to give you those sugar pills. This is why they're going to give you that insulin, because the pancreas is not working. You've got to cleanse your body, and you've got to exercise. You're going to have circulation problems in your legs, all sorts of things like that, right? So hot and cold showers, things that you can do, dry brush. I can't go into everything, but there are things that you can. Your body's a living organism. That is what your body needs. So I do 80% as much as possible raw and 20% cooked. So what I did is give you those recipes in the book so that you can make your veggie burgers, your veggie patties, your green smoothie, your fruit smoothie, your salads, your salad dressing. So you have those recipes in the book as well. Now, this I want to introduce to you because this is a healer on its own. This is called a sauna. And you've heard of saunas, right? You can go to spas and different places like that. And they would let you go into a sauna, and it's hot. And you would spend maybe half an hour in there, and you are drenched in sweat. And then you got to come out and go and get like a cold shower right away, right? Okay, I bought this. You can get it on Google or Amazon. It comes flat like a sheet. But you can open it up, and it opens up, and it fits right in the corner, any corner of your house, close to the bathroom if you can find somewhere to rest it. When you're ready to use it, you go and you sit inside of it. It has like a little remote, The remote is right here. You see it's in the pocket there. You press it on. It uses the infrared technology. It heats up very quickly, and you begin to sweat. Your skin is your largest organ of your body. And what happens is that all the toxins in your system, especially those lifestyle diseases that we suffer with, you begin to pass it out. Now, you could faint. You have to be careful. Make sure somebody's in the house when you're doing this. Make sure you have a cup of cold water, have a straw. You can put a little stool right here and have your water there. You can stick your hand through, just zip this down. I used to just stick my hand through it, take the water, take a little sip, because you are sweating and you want to keep hydrating while you're going through this. Maybe do about 30 minutes of it, and you do that once a day. Do it for about a month. Give yourself a little therapy, just like if you were going to a spa, and you would see what's going to happen. When that toxin start getting out, you have to get it out of your body. Either you're going to get it out of your system through your stool, or through urinating, or through sweating. Anyhow you take it, you got to get it out if you want to get your body back to health. We're wrapping up. I realize you don't have this in Trinidad, but I use this Mexico. The doctors in Mexico introduced this to me. It's called IP6. You could probably order it online, find a company. The company I buy it from is called the Vitamin Shop, and I have it in the book too. This is a white tablet. It's a big horse tablet, and all you do is chew it up. It tastes like chalk, but it quickly builds back up your immune system. It builds up your white blood cells. So that's what I used it for. Okay? I spoke about vitamin B17 already. This is the natural chemotherapy that they put in my veins. It's made from the apricot seeds. So it's banned in America. So I used to go over the Mexico border. I used to buy it and come back over and pray to God that they didn't stop me. And that's how I was getting it. And when I go, I would buy it like a case at a time. So this is called vitamin B17. But if you cannot get B17, you have soursop. You have moringa. These are natural chemos. Well, if it's a leaf, don't boil the leaf. You pour boiling water on a leaf. You cover it and let it draw. Okay? And you drink it. Don't put no milk and sugar and all that. Just drink it because you're taking it like medicine. Right? So if you don't have this, you can get that. You need to also have some enzymes. But if you get the little bottle of cell food, you will get 34 enzymes in that little bottle of cell food. Next slide. So we got 2 more slides and I'm done. This one and then the next one. These are the 7 things that I want you to read with me, and I want to wrap up with this. If you are diagnosed with cancer, number 1, do not do nothing. Some people don't want to do anything. They hear that they are sick, and they freeze. Cancer is not going to go away. Okay? Yes? All right. Number 2, do not fear or be afraid. Don't be afraid because you're diagnosed with a disease. Your body can heal itself if you give it the right conditions. Okay? Do not hide your sickness from everyone. Some people get sick, they don't even tell their own children. I don't know why we do that. Maybe because they feel ashamed. They feel people are going to look at them differently because they have cancer, you know. I mean, you don't want to go and broadcast it, but definitely speak to your pastor, speak to your spouse or your children, somebody close to you. You cannot cope with this all by yourself. You need family support in order to survive, okay? So don't just hide your sickness, right? Do not turn against your medical doctors. There are some people, I had a friend, and I shared her story in this book. I shared her story in this book. She was diagnosed at the same time with me in the same year. I went to Mexico. I told her about it. She decided that she didn't want to take chemo radiation. All she wanted to do is just natural. And so she went completely natural. And the week before she died, she called me. She told me, I'm doing great. She said, I'm doing great. I just finished, did some water bed therapy. That's what she said to me. She said, I'm walking 3 miles a day. I'm doing so good. I said, so wonderful for you. We work together. The next day after that, she called me and said, you know something? I want to go to one of the places where you went and did your cleansing. I want to get a good cleanse. So I sent her to the place where I went, not in Mexico, but another place I went to clean my body out, get everything out my colon. She went there. When she got there, the lady that was supposed to be taking care of her rushed her to the hospital because this is how she was talking. Hi, how how you doing? Yes, this is how she was going. The lady said, something is wrong. You go. Did you ever go to the doctor? No. So how do you know that your cancer is getting better? She said, I am healed. I'm walking 3 miles a day. She said, the lady said, I cannot treat you or help you with the herbs or anything. I need you to go to the doctor. So she took her. Once she got to the doctor did a scan, and they told her, call your family. We can't admit you. There's nothing we can do. The breast cancer was way past the last stage. The cancer had already got to her lungs. That's why she was, cancer had eaten away on the lungs. She was in the 4th stage, the last stages of lung cancer. And they told her that in about a month she will be dead. The hospital did nothing for her. They sent her back home. She walked into that hospital walking. She could not walk out. She lost every spirit and fight that she had in her. She was so depressed, they had to lift her up to take her out. And a week later, she was dead. You cannot turn your back on your medical doctors, even though you believe in the natural herbs. And you're using the natural herbs, it's great. I use a lot of them. However, what I'm saying is the doctors can do the tests. They can send you to do a scan just so that you see that everything is working, what all the natural things you are using is doing what it is supposed to do. Don't take it for granted that it's working and you didn't check it out. Do not violate the laws of nature. In my book, I gave you some of them. Number 1, proper sleep, proper rest. Proper sleep and proper rest. Your body makes new cells during the night. Between 10 o'clock at night and 2 in the morning, you've got to get some sleep, deep sleep, so that your body can rejuvenate itself. Okay? Do not let anyone make you believe that you're going to die. When that doctor told me 6 months, I told you I never went back to him. Only God can make those final decisions for you. So even when the doctor gives you time, if you have that faith and belief, as long as you have breath and you have life, you can fight and you can trust in God. And do not underestimate the promises of God. I think I'd like to stop there. I'd like to give you an opportunity. I didn't go deep into my story because it's a lot, but it's in the book, and I don't have enough books for everybody, but I know some people called and asked me to make sure I bring one for them. You can go to Amazon.com and you can purchase the book. They will ship it to you. You can get the Kindle version where they will give it to you on your iPads or your phone, as well as you can get the paperback version of the book. Can we take some questions at this time? All right, so her question is, if you're doing a detox, is it good to do? And what do you say? What do you say? Yes. It's always good to detox your system. Okay, I don't know what the detox machine is. I can tell you what I do to clean myself, to get a good cleansing. Okay, so maybe she's talking about a bath, like they fill up a tub with water and they can put Epsom, or a foot detox, they put Epsom salts in it. Yeah, you can do that and it will pull toxins from the system, right? But that's not going to clean your colon. Your small intestine is about 22 feet long. roll up in here. And your large intestine is 6 feet long, right? And you, from time to time, you've got to cleanse your colon. You've also, all the body systems, your liver, you want to do a liver cleanse just by using olive oil and lemon, right? You want to also make sure that you clean your bladder. From time to time, you just want to do, if you guys know, you get corn on the husk here, right? The fresh corn. You know the little silk that you pull away from the corn and you throw it away? You dry that. Don't throw it away. Just put it on the table, let it dry, and just pour some boiling water on it, strain it, put it in the fridge, and drink that for about 3 or 4 days. That is going to flush your kidneys out. It's going to flush your bladder. It's going to make you urinate a lot, right? But you're cleansing. You have to cleanse every part of your body, not just the foot, right? Even though they use this reflexology and things like that, and under your feet is connected to your stomach, it's connected to your intestine, so that's why they do the foot detox. So to answer your question, yes, it's good to do a detox, but you want to do more. You want to make sure that you're cleaning your colon, because you don't want to have colon cancer, right? That's another thing that you want to be fearful of. So you can use psyllium husk. You can buy psyllium in the supermarket, and just mix it in a little bit of water. Drink it at night before you go to bed. It gets very, very thick. As soon as you mix it in the water, drink it. It gets very thick, and then you're not able to get it down. Drink a glass of water after it, a glass of 1 or 2, and that is going to begin to clean your intestines for you. You need fiber. Can we take another question? All right then. Yes? Okay. So she's talking about breast cancer, and she's talking that the trigger, the hormone that triggers the cancer, which is estrogen. So all of the things that I share with you, the water, all these things, it is for every form of cancer. If a person has estrogen positive cancer, they have a very great chance. The survival rate is high, because they give you by the grace of God, yes. They give you those hormones to suppress the estrogen. One of the things you want to be careful with, though, you want to go on a low estrogen diet. So, for example, everyone knows that carrot juice is great, right? Carrot juice is excellent, but it wouldn't be good for a person that has breast cancer that's triggered by, because it's the highest form of estrogen. So a person who have fibroids, a person who have tumors, that carrot juice can cause that to grow because it's so high in estrogen. So just get a list of low estrogen foods. Have your grandchildren or your children Google it for you, and just switch up your diet a little bit, or tell whoever you are it's not you, but whoever you're asking the question for. Oh, it's you, okay. Yes. You can survive that. You just have to do the things that I tell you and change up the diet. Get away from animal products, milk and cheese and all of that. And get on an alkaline diet as much as possible. I see your hand. She's not finished. Go ahead. They're giving you to suppress the estrogen? I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. It's very difficult to cope with cancer. It's not an easy thing. Cancer is like a death sentence, right? But what I tell people is that sentence really does not have to be carried out. It's all in your mind. You have to stay very positive. And I said it in the beginning, it's very, very painful, I understand. So what they are doing is suppressing the, the ovaries and your body from making the estrogen. So switch up your diet. Go on the low estrogen foods. Get away from the high estrogen foods. Yes, that's what you got to do. And then make sure you go back to the doctor and do test your tumor markers and see that the tumor markers are going down, and then they will wean you off of that drug that giving you those other side effects. I'm so sorry. Yes, in the back. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. It's difficult to balance it because right now our bodies are out of balance. But once the body tones back and get back in balance, it will be okay. It will be okay. In the beginning, it will be difficult. But once your body becomes, because you're not hydrated, and once you become hydrated and you start taking even a little bit more water and the body gets back in balance, you're not going to be running to the bathroom all the time because everything is going to be working in your system, you know. But let's talk about the immune system because that really is the key to the success of almost everything that we're talking about, right? How do we boost that immune system? Well, I mentioned to you I use the IP6. Not everybody can buy that. It's 40 something dollars a bottle, 40 something US dollars. So you want to locally find a way to build up your immune system. There are many things that can do that. There's something called golden seal. There's another herb that is called pordiaco. And another name for it is tahibu. The Indians used that years ago when there were no doctors. And Indian people have a lot of babies. They used to, just for pain and everything, they used to use the bark of the tahibu tree for pain and to build up the system because they had so many kids. So you can get the tahibu, which is another name is pordiaco. You can get the golden seal, drip a little bit in your water and drink it. You can do the hot and cold showers every day and begin building up your immune cells. So you want to bathe with the hot water if you can. If you have a shower, bathe with hot water for 3 minutes and then switch it to cold water for 30 seconds. And then bathe again for 3 minutes in hot and then switch to 30 seconds in cold. You will feel your body shiver like that when you switch to cold. That's how you're supposed to feel. And you do that 3 times. Hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, and you end up with cold. The hot water opens up your pores. The hot water causes the blood to rush from the brain and it rushes to the surface of your skin, which is your largest organ. So there now you have circulation going on. Now you have the white blood cells being built up, your immune system. The cold water sends it back. So the hot water brings it, the cold water pushes it back, and just that movement of the blood builds up your immune cells. So that's something you don't have to pay a doctor for, or you don't have to go online to buy. You can do that. You can build up your immune system that way. Yes? Okay, so yes, you're talking about enemas, right? She says enema, but I call it enema. I lived on it for 16 days straight. I had to do 3 enemas a day, morning, noon, and night, because the cancer was all over my body. So let me say this. In the book, I gave you the recipe of how to do the enemas step by step, and I did coffee enemas. So instead of putting water in the enema bag and pushing that up the rectum, you're using coffee. So I give you the steps of how to brew the coffee and how to do it. And that is, when the coffee goes up in the rectum, it opens up the bile, the liver, your bile duct. It creates a surge of bile, and it draws all the toxins out of your body, and then you pass it out in the toilet. So do you know what is roping? You ever heard of roping? Okay, let me describe that to you. That was my experience, roping. It was such an amazing experience. The way how your colon is, your colon has a kind of shape like this. And we don't have a board here. It has a kind of shape like this. It goes down, under, right? Like that, and then the stool comes out there. Okay, that is how your stool is supposed to come out when you use the bathroom, when you're number 2, right? But what happened is, I know we're talking about nasty stuff. Your colon, if it's this thick, your stool should be this thick. But what happens now, because we are impacted over 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, sometimes you eat things and it's still in your system for 40 years. You never got it out. So what it does, it makes like a crust, and it closes up your colon. And then your stools start coming out thin and stringy. So when you start to do the enema now, it starts to pull up all that impacted stuff, and you're passing it out. You have to rush to the toilet. It's coming out like water, water. For the first 10 days, when I did it, the person who was caring for me, I had to stool in a strainer. And every time I stool, after I do the coffee enema, she would go and put on gloves. And together we would go in the toilet and look at it, because we are looking to see what's coming out. And after day 10, it was the first time I understood what roping was. My stool started coming out this size, and it started coming out like a rope, just like the size of my colon. And I knew that I got a good detox. So it's not just the foot. You've got to do all those other things. So yes, enema, do it. Do it if you can. You don't want to do it for an extended period of time, because you want your body to work normally the way God created it to work, and you want to have natural, what they call peristaltic movement. That's when you feel like, oh gosh, I got a number 2, I got to go to the toilet. That's when your body is giving you that movement. If you keep on doing enemas forever and ever and ever, your body is not going to ever make you feel that way. So you want to do it for about 5 days, 10 days, and then you stop. And maybe next year, if you want, you can give yourself another enema, right? Yes, sir.
You said see hot cold water.
Yes.
The pores, right?
Hot opens, cold closes it back.
By the process. Hot, cold, hot, cold.
Yes.
Doesn't bathing in the sea open your pores?
That's a good one. I don't know if bathing in the sea opens your pores. But how do you know it's opening your pores? Because for your pores to open, you need that heat.
There was a guy who went to the fish lake.
Yeah, but that's not the sea though. I mean, I know it's a pitch lake.
But
And that's
they
hot.
couldn't get,
That's hot. So yes.
they used petrol to get his pores to open.
Yes, okay. But that's the pitch lake. You're talking about the beach or the pitch lake?
Well, the beach, but our local beach right here, we go because it is alleged that it opens the pores.
So let me say this about the seawater. Seawater has, it's just very, very amazing. Seawater has the exact composition in the exact proportion as our body. Our bodies. You remember we are 99% water. We are okay, you're drinking water, normal water. But what happens when you sweat? You ever taste your sweat? Well, how it tastes? Good. You urinate. You're drinking good water. You're not drinking seawater. You're drinking regular H2O water. But when you urinate and you pee out that water and you taste it, how it tastes? All right. Because our bodies, seawater is the only isotonic solution that is the exact composition of the human body. 92 minerals is in the seawater. 92 minerals is what our body need in order to get us back in perfect health, right? And seawater has those 92 minerals. Sodium is a big part. You cannot live without salt, even though when you have high blood pressure, the doctor tells you don't eat salt. You cannot live without salt. The salt you don't need is the table salt that you're buying in the store, because that table salt only has two minerals. It has sodium and it has chloride. You have to get that Celtic, that's the name of it, Celtic sea salt. It's spelled C-E-L-T-I-C. It has the exact minerals because they go in the sea and they hand harvest the salt. And it gives you exactly what the body needs, and it doesn't create no high blood pressure. It is the salt that we are buying in the store that is giving us the high blood pressure, because it only has sodium and chloride in high proportions, and that is destroying the system. But seawater, sea bath from time to time is excellent. But I cannot say that whether it opens the pores or not, I'm not sure. Yes, sir. Okay. Alkaline, very good. Lemon, I'm not talking about the green lime. I'm talking about the yellow lemon. Okay. So lemon, the rusted one, the rough skin one, if what you call here. In America, it's not rough skin at all. It's smooth, smooth, smooth. It's so ridiculous. Could you imagine we cut in an orange and it has no seeds? I've never seen anything like this. Clone stuff. Lemon is acidic, but when it gets into the human body, it turns alkaline. It is the only fruit that we know that does that. So even though it's acid on the outside, it gives you an alkaline effect on the inside, but not the lime. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you guys so much. Okay. The Celtic salt. The Himalayan pink salt is good as well. It has only 72 minerals in it. So you're not going to get as much as the 92, but you're definitely not getting 2 that the white table salt is giving you. So you're still not going to bring your whole body back in balance, but if that's all you can get, it's good. It's better than the regular table salt. Yes. Okay. Oh, wow. What? That's amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah. My book is more a motivational, inspirational to encourage people. I mean, I do have recipes and different principles in there. So, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. If I can help in that respect, we can discuss. No problem. What about the cane? Cane. Oh, kale. Okay. Kale. The green kale. Perfect. Perfect. It's green. Yeah. Juice it. Eat it raw. It has chlorophyll. Chlorophyll. In my book, the green juice that I use, I buy it from a company called AIM because I am very, very busy. So as much as I would love to stop and juice every day, my lifestyle does not permit me to have the time to do that, right? So what I do, I buy my juice. This is the juice that I use. You see this green juice here? Okay? And those of you, you can order the book from Amazon, right? If you want to get it. I have a few copies here, but this green juice is made from the young barley plant. And let me say this to you. You know, nothing beats juicing with a juicer, right? But this actually gives you more live enzymes than you even taking all the time to wash the kale and all of that and juice it. You know how the astronauts go up in space? You know they don't have no stoves up there to cook and all of that. Right? How do they eat? Right? They use the process of drying the food with maintaining the life force of the food. So even though this is a powder, all you do is mix it in water. You have more live enzyme than if you took an hour to go to the market and buy the kale and stand up and juice it. So this is what I use. But not everybody can buy, you know what I mean? So you can buy the kale, you can use your cucumbers, you can use your watercress, you can use, you know, your broccolis, all of those cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, those are the ones that are good for cancer. And you can mix them up, juice them, and drink twice a day. And that would be, yes, the kale is good. Yes. Okay, so at this time, I would like to turn this mic over back to Onika Lakan. I know she said it's a mouthful, and yes, it is. I want to thank you for being able to answer some of your questions. And we are going to stay back, and I would love to sign some of the books that are there if you would like to pick it up and take a picture with me. That's exactly what I want to do. There are 2 people here that I believe they called me before, so even though we have just seen a few books, it's because I sold out. That's what happened. I really sold out. People have been showing up at the house, and then you can't turn them away when they show up. So thank you for having me. Thank you so much. And maybe we can take a group picture.
That's 3.
1, 2, 3 have books, okay, and then there are 2 more for who would want one. But maybe we can get a group picture, and we do want to have a little toast, if you guys don't mind. There's no alcohol there, nothing alcohol there, right? Okay, good.
So great. Thank you so much for coming out, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. Did you learn something today? Yes, we learn a lot. So this is what Speak Out Sisters is about. So now you know. And like I said, this is a new series, so hopefully we'll be having another one in a timing, same place, same time. And once again, I'd just like to thank Mrs. Anne-Marie Fraser for sharing her life experience with us so that we could all learn and grow and share. So we have some liquid refreshments right now, and Mrs. Fraser will sign her books, and we will close off this session for this evening. Thank you so much.